Let me hit you with something uncomfortable real quick. The average American has $167,000 saved for retirement right now. And when you first hear that number, you probably think, okay, that is not terrible. Maybe people are doing all right. Maybe the financial headlines are actually telling the truth for once. They are not. That number is one of the most misleading statistics in personal finance. And I am going to prove it to you in about 30 seconds. Here is how averages work. If you put me in a room with Elon Musk, our average net worth is roughly $550 million. That sounds incredible, except I personally have closer to $0 than $550 million. The average makes me sound like a billionaire. The average is lying to you. The average has always been lying to you. The average is basically the financial equivalent of a first date where someone only shows you their highlight reel and none of the red flags. So forget the average. The number that actually tells the truth is the median, the person standing right in the middle of all 5 million Americans that Vanguard tracked in their brand new 2026 report. And that median person has $44,000 saved for retirement, not $167, zero, $44,000. That is less than the price of a decent used car. That is less than 1 year of rent in most major American cities. That is not retirement money. That is a very anxious Tuesday. And it gets worse. 1 in 4 Americans has less than $10,000 saved, and 1 in 10 has zero, nothing. Negative net worth, they owe more than they own. In the richest country in human history, in 2026, after a stock market that went up 28% last year. That right there is the story nobody wants to put on a headline, because the real headline would have to say something like stock market at all-time high, while millions of Americans have literally nothing. And that does not sell the kind of optimistic financial content that gets easy clicks and the happy sponsors, but we are going to talk about it anyway, because you deserve to know where you actually stand. So let us break down the real numbers by age, because this is where it gets truly eye-opening. For Americans aged 55 to 64, people who are knocking on retirement's door right now, the median 401k balance is about $95, zero. Now that sounds like something, until you do the math. Financial experts say a safe withdrawal rate in retirement is about 4% per year. That means you can take out 4% of your savings annually without running out of money. 4% of $95,000 is $3,800 per year. $3,800 per year. That is $317 a month. $317 a month after working for 40 years. To put that in perspective, a monthly gym membership you never actually use costs more than that. A single car payment costs more than that. A family dinner at a sit-down restaurant with drinks and tip costs more than that. These are people 1 decade away from retirement, living on the financial equivalent of hoping Social Security doesn't get cut before they get there. And spoiler alert, Social Security may or may not be there in its current form by the time most people under 50 actually need it. No pressure though. But here's the part of the Vanguard report that really made me put my phone down and just sit with it for a moment. Hardship withdrawals, pay-or-play pulling money out of their 401k early, eating the tax penalty, paying the fine just to cover a regular emergency, hit a record 6% of participants this year. This is the 6th consecutive year that number has gone up. And it is triple what it was before the pandemic. Triple! That means people are not just behind on savings. They are actively dismantling the savings. They already have just to survive the present. They built a financial safety net over 20 years and now they are cutting holes in it to pay for emergencies that used to be manageable. On top of that, 13% of Americans currently have an outstanding loan against their own 401k. They are literally borrowing from their future retired self, taking money from the version of themselves that will be 70 years old, tired and unable to go back to work, just to pay for something happening right now in 2026. And here is the number that ties all of this together and should genuinely concern every person watching this video. The US personal savings rate just fell to 2.6%. That is the lowest it has been since April 2008, right before the great financial crisis. The 30-year average is 5.7%. We are less than half the historical average. And it has been dropping every single month this year. 4.3% in January, 3.6% in February, 3.2% in March, 2.6% now. That is not a blip, that is a trend. And it is moving in exactly one direction. The typical American family has about $8,000 in their checking and savings account combined. For people under 35, that drops to $5,400, which means most Americans are one emergency room visit, one busted transmission, or one unexpected layoff away from financial disaster. Not broke eventually, broke immediately. And the cruelest irony of all of this, the stock market is at all-time highs. The headlines say the economy is doing great. And both things are technically true for some people. Because what we are living through right now is what economists call a K-shaped economy. The people at the top of the K are doing better than ever. Assets going up, investments growing, net worth climbing. Life is good. The people at the bottom of the K are getting squeezed harder every year by rent, groceries, insurance, healthcare, and childcare that have all outpaced income growth for the last decade. Their expenses went up, their savings went down, and the headline number stays pretty because the people at the top pull the average up high enough to hide everyone else. That is not a recovery, that is a magic trick. And the people at the bottom are not applauding. Now, here is where I stop roasting the situation and actually give you something useful. Because knowing how bad things are without a plan is just anxiety. And anxiety is not a financial strategy. So here is exactly what to do, starting right now, regardless of where you are. Number one, and I cannot stress this enough, if your employer offers a 401k match, you take it, always. No exceptions, zero. An employer match is a guaranteed return of 50 to 100% on your contribution instantly. There is no investment on earth that guarantees you that. Not stocks, not crypto, not that random tip your coworker gave you about some company. The employer match beats all of it. If you are not taking it, you are leaving free money on the table, and that is honestly the one financial mistake I cannot defend for you. Number two, set auto-escalation on your contributions. Every year, your 401k automatically increases by 1%. You will barely notice it coming out of your paycheck. But over 20 years, that adds up to tens of thousands of extra dollars sitting in your account. You did not have to. Think about it. You did not have to remember it. It just happened. Set it up once and forget it. Number three, if you are over 50, max out catch-up contributions. The IRS lets people over 50 contribute an extra $7,500 per year beyond the normal limit. If you do that consistently for 15 years, you can add nearly $200,000 to your retirement. That is not enough. That is the difference between retirement and I guess I will keep working. Number four, watch your fees. This is the sneaky one. An index fund might charge you 0.03% per year. An actively managed fund might charge 0.75% or more. That sounds like a tiny difference. Over 30 years, with compounding, it is tens of thousands of dollars, leaving your account quietly, every single year. Go into the fund manager. Note your check, patio à repairer. Switch to lower pay options if you can. And number five, if you are behind, do not let that feeling paralyze you, because the data shows most people your age are also behind. You are not failing uniquely. You are experiencing a systemic problem that has been building for decades. The worst response to seeing how far behind you are is to feel hopeless and do nothing. The people who end up okay are never the ones who started with the most money. They are the ones who started as soon as possible and never stopped, no matter how small the contributions felt. Start now. Automate everything. Take the match, watch the fees, and keep going. The gap is real, the crisis is real, but so is the math that works in your favor when you start early and stay consistent. That is the part the headlines never mention. And now you know. Hit like if this woke you up a little. Subscribe because the next video on exactly how much money different age groups actually have saved is going to hit even harder than this one. See you soon.